Well, ultimately, success will always be about increased student achievement. It may not be measured entirely in terms of tests or examinations, but ultimately we want students becoming more successful as learners. Typically, we find that that kind of thing happens after about 2 years. Sometimes it happens in one, but it's not guaranteed to happen in 1 year. So we often advise schools about the things they can look out for as they're working in this way. When colleges are seeing these things, that you can see, well, we're not yet seeing the results, but we are seeing all the things that need to be in place for those results to come. So the first thing we identify is teachers are given time to meet and do so. The idea is that teachers are given the time once every month to meet together and talk. And in fact, that's usually the sticking point. When schools fail to get better results, when colleges don't find that what's happening in the way that they expect, it's usually because the teachers simply weren't given the time to meet. The second thing then is, as principals and other administrators and leaders walk around, you should see more prevalence of formative assessment practices. So you'll see a greater number of teachers using all student response systems. You'll see it happening more frequently. Students will often report that they're being more engaged. The idea is that students are saying that lessons fly by because the teacher is putting us on the spot all the time, and lessons just go much more quickly when teachers are using these kinds of teaching approaches, these pedagogies of engagement and these pedagogies of responsiveness. The other thing that I think that is useful to look out for is the way that teachers modify the techniques. So teachers have to change these techniques. What works for one teacher in one classroom won't work for another teacher in another classroom. So teachers always have to adapt these techniques to make them fit their own classrooms. What we see is that teachers who really understand these techniques change them in ways that make them much more powerful. So for example, an English language arts teacher, Charlotte Kerrigan, she took the idea of comment-only marking, but she did it in a different way. She actually wrote the comments not on her students' books, but on strips of paper, and each group of 4 students was given 4 strips of paper and the 4 original essays, and they're asked to match the comments to the essays. And because this teacher changed it in a way that, in my view, deepened the approach, I can see she really understands the big ideas. So the way that teachers modify the techniques to make them work gives you a key insight into whether their thinking is changing along with their practice. And then, as I said earlier, ultimately, when all those things are in place, you will see increased student achievement.